Hi, good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Minority Report. I am overwhelmed, so to speak, because it is literally our first show for 2024. We haven't seen each other since last year. And I mean, that is something that is that is definitely worth saying something about. So let me first of all wish all of you, because this is the first time I'm seeing you guys for the year, let me wish you guys a happy and prosperous new year. I really do pray that for each of us, that God's will in fact be unveiled and unraveled and unfolded in our lives. So much is happening, and for those of us who are here, I really want to thank God for your lives. I really want to thank God that you made it. We all made it, and we are in 2024, a new season, a new dispensation, new opportunities. And that is a key word, new opportunities, new offers, things that I want to encourage us all to really put the effort into, things that we may have been neglecting for some time, procrastinating over and that kind of thing. There is another opportunity, and I don't celebrate resolutions, New Year's resolutions, because I believe every year that turns, what we need to do is to celebrate what we've accomplished in the year previous and set things up in a way that we can continue and not just get stuck in a cycle where every year we commit to doing something and we start over and we start over and we start over. So I really do trust that all of us would continue building upon the efforts that we would have made throughout 2023, whether it's in our personal lives, whether it's in our family lives, whether it's in the life in terms of our work life, community, organizations that we may find ourselves a part of, an active part of, I dare say, and that we continue to commit to it. For those of us who are parents as well, this is another opportunity for us to really step up and to put our best foot forward in that parenting process, as we continue to hear our children are one of our most valuable resources. And so it is critical that we position ourselves in a way that we can advance their life, advance their call, as it were, and their purpose in life. You know, the Bible says to train up a child in the way he should go. It is difficult to train anyone up in any particular way that gives them direction if we of ourselves are not familiar and don't understand what that direction is. And so I want to encourage us all, even in that particular area, that we set the right examples for our children. We set the right examples so that everyone can benefit from the input and the efforts that we are in fact making in life. So, Happy New Year to all of us. I want to take a very short break, and when we come back, we're going to go into some pleasantries and identify certain things that would have happened over the last week or so that would have ushered us into the new year and into this new season. So stay logged on, stay locked on, share the live, share the live, share the live, and we'll be right back.
Come in. Long time I see you, girl. This station complete. Ready for children party. Mommy! Jay, you can't go nowhere with these children. And you know you can't depend on Kevin neither Steven to see about them. Yeah, total waste. So I supposed to stay home whole time? Jada is 12. She could see about that. You just leave Jada to see about Kia and Kayla? I thought it was your mother or your sister. Who? Them always busy. Jada could handle that. She cooking and cleaning a long time. And the next two, better know what time it is. It's only me, you know. I will talk to my mother. She just home these days. She will make sure the children okay. Alright. Let me see the moves for later.
Before your Ramajé, make sure the children okay. Call 996 to report all child abuse now. A message from the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
And folks, we are back yet again. Thank you for tuning into this evening's program. And let me do the administrative stuff. If you are viewing, you want to share the information, you want to share the different platforms, you can view the Minority Report on the Tobago Updates website. You can view us on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, as well as the Tobago Updates Facebook page. Now, for those of you who are interacting with the Facebook page, you get more opportunity to click, comment the live and so on, share your comments, engaging healthy discussions, healthy conversations as well. And I want to encourage you to be able to do that. For those of you who want to send us a WhatsApp message, you can do so on 284-6597. That's 284-6597 or 356-8833. 356-8833. And I'm saying that because sometimes you want to send a photo, an image of something. You want to send a voice recording, as the case may be. You want to send a comment. So feel free to do that as well. This year we intend to expand quite a bit in terms of our content and bring the Minority Report closer to you, the people, closer to you, those of you who have consistently logged on for the past 2 years and have made this program one of the most viewed current affairs program, not just in Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, but even in the region. And I'm saying region because I've been to places in the region where persons actually see the show and log into Tobago Updates, as a matter of fact, on Facebook. So a great job, guys. We want to thank you. You the viewers, you the listeners, for making this show, this program, what it has been, and the consistency of the program. We really want to say thank you for being with us and for navigating the last 2 years with us. We want to also indicate that if you are an Amplia subscriber, you can tune into channel 102 on the Amplia network, and you can enjoy us live in the comfort of your living room with your family as well. Someone said to me that on a Tuesday evening, they don't just have it as a family time. They invite their neighbors over and they all sit on the floor and so on in the living room and take in the Minority Report. And that's why I always seek to emphasize that this is a family program. There are children who pay attention and who look at the program. And so it's important for us, especially those on the live and those who are making comments, to keep our comments healthy, to keep our comments respectful, and to keep our comments in a manner that would only benefit and help Tobago to develop and the people of Tobago to become the people that we are designed by God to be. So this evening, I would have already given us the Happy New Year's, the New Year's greetings and so on. I know many of us had quite a bit to do in this Christmas season. Our part of the world here, we are a Christmas celebration people. And so when you drove throughout Tobago, you saw people still in the hustle and the bustle, trying to get things done. Though many people would have indicated that it's been really challenging, not just this past year, but even the year before, things have been challenging. But one thing that has prevailed is the resilience and the spirit of the people to still be caring and to still be kind, helping your neighbors and that kind of thing. And throughout Tobago, I saw that again evidenced. So many persons would have indicated that and this is firsthand, that they of themselves may not have even had enough to cook food over the season, and their neighbors, friends, and so on would have chipped in, and that is what humanity is about. That is what the human spirit is about, being able to meet each other at our point of needs when it matters most. And so I want to encourage us people. We're in a new year, and we all know the situation. we're all seeing what is happening around us. But let's also be mindful of our neighbor. Let's also be mindful of our brother. Let's also be mindful of our friends, and just check in on someone. Someone was saying to me very, very recently that the issue of mental health, and this is a medical professional, the issue of mental health has become of grave concern here in Tobago. And I want to echo those sentiments and really say that, let's all work together to ensure that each other, that we're okay. If even it's a phone call, a message, let's move away from the negatives. Let's move away from the gossips. Let's move away from doing things and saying things that do not generate positivity. And let's always give somebody a little shout, a little good word, a check-in, just to see how they're doing. And sometimes that's all someone needs to really stabilize and to kind of plane off. So folks, we are into the new year. We had a great start, or we're having a tremendous start here, and we expect to be, throughout the year, continue giving you the facts, continue investigating, continue holding this administration accountable. Over the last week, we had two significant events, one happening here in Tobago, one happening in Trinidad. We saw the passing of the gentleman dubbed the heavy roller, Mr. Hochoy Charles, late Mr. Hochoy Charles, and we saw his funeral attracting people from all over, both the Prime Minister, President, members of Parliament, so on, Chief Justice, President of the Senate, were all present for that occasion to pay their final respects to Mr. Charles. And so on the Minority Report, we want to extend our heartfelt condolences as well to his friends and family on the passing of a significant figure in the history and the development of the Tobago House of Assembly and Tobago at large. We also saw the passing of former Prime Minister and former political leader of the United National Congress, Mr. Basdeo Pandey. His funeral actually was today. It was aired live, and I think the entire nation stood still on this occasion just to simply witness the final rites being given to Mr. Pandey. Again, we want to extend our sincere and deepest condolences to his family, his wife, Oma Pandey, and his children and grandchildren on the passing of a gentleman who has definitely made his mark, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the region, affectionately dubbed the Silver Fox. I think one of the most standout attributes for me of Mr. Pandey would be his ability to articulate, the way that he spoke. Every time he spoke about an issue, there was such passion behind it. There was always this suave and a very convincing tone. And I remember sitting and listening to him, even growing up, listening to him speak on various issues, on education, on crime and so on, for quite some time, and just seeing him present his stuff. So we really want to say we thank God for his life and what he would have contributed to the development of Trinidad and Tobago, and we wish his family and friends all the best. So at this time, we're going to just pay some bills. As usual, we know that now we have some issues where apparently we have to pay more bills than anything else, than any other program. That's good. That means that a lot of people view at this time, so business people tend to try to get in on the action to advertise while everyone is looking. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to introduce my guests in studio and on the live link, and we are going to enter into some discussions to kick off 2024. Stay locked on, and we're going to be right back.
Hey, hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat.
Oh, this is so stylish, and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's standard. Their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive Collection. Now exclusively available at Standard.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
Yes, folks, we are back, and I must say it's always a pleasure to be in studio on the Minority Report, sharing the information and so on with you guys. I want to get right into it. I want to take the opportunity to introduce my guest in studio first time for the year in studio on the Minority Report. And I must say, looking fresh and ready to rumble for 2024. None other than the Minority Leader himself, Assemblyman Kelvon Morris. How are you?
Good evening, Marilyn, and good evening to all your viewers. It is definitely a pleasure. It's been a while. And let me extend Happy New Year greetings to yourself, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, and to all persons in diaspora viewing this program. Marilyn, to be quite honest, I am not too well with the state in which Tobago is at this time. And I'm speaking here, Minority Leader hat off, and just as a Tobagonian, I think Tobago is at an all-time low. You're seeing for yourself, there's an upsurge in murders, crime and violence. In a million years, I would never think that we would be in the heart of Scarborough at a time where the port, where the boat ferries coming in, persons are coming off the ferry, disembarking persons moving along one of the busiest corridors in Scarborough, and we would be having a shooting in that kind of way where
Wild West.
Like if we are in the Wild West. We are seeing daily now, Marilyn, daily persons on social media crying out for payments. Imagine persons have not been paid for going almost 8 months. Heritage is going to come around back, and there are persons saying they have not been paid. There are persons, we have had 2 Tobago carnivals, and there are persons who have not even been paid for the first one. And you know, when you are seeing there are young men telling you they are signing up for jobs, and they just can't find employment. There are a lot of hopelessness. And when you hear those cries as you walk the length and breadth of Tobago, I cannot, as a Tobagonian, sit here and feel comfortable tonight.
Hold on. Okay, Minority Leader, just in. This has just been sent to me anonymously, hot off the press. Permit me to read this notice that has been released, that someone just forwarded. The Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, which is to apologize to daily paid workers for the glitch which has resulted in a delay of payment of wages for the fortnight ending January 5th, 2024. The division is working assiduously to resolve the matter within the shortest possible time and wishes to thank all involved for your patience and understanding. So people still not getting paid?
And this is case in point. Case in point. It is like this is happening one time too often now. How come?
Glitch?
What glitch? What glitch? To start the new year. Imagine, we know how difficult it is for families, especially in the month of January. And you imagine you expecting. So you would have gone through Christmas, you would have managed your finances in such a way that you know by the 5th of January, you would have your fortnight salary to carry you to the end of the month of January. Only to hear that there's some glitch. But how come this glitch don't happen when the secretary is supposed to get paid? You ever hear a secretary come and say, I didn't get paid because he had a glitch?
I don't understand this. What is happening?
And you see, until Tobagonians, I'm speaking to you. Because until you hold those persons you have elected to manage your affairs accountable, this will continue to happen over and over and over again because they don't care. They are getting their salaries. When they have to go out on their trips, when they have to go out and on their fancy trips, They get their per diem before they leave, their big fat per diem. But you who are working, you hard for your honest little pittance, you have to come to hear that you can't get your money when you go into the bank to the ATM expecting your pay. They are now telling you you can't get your pay on time and apologizing.
But Minority Leader, why you said something there that they don't care, and it's evident because if this was due on the 5th of January, how come it take so long before a notice came out?
And that is the point. It's because somebody, what would have happened? You see, this administration is an administration, and that is why I'm telling Tobagonians, you have to start to speak up and speak out. Because it's only when you pressure them, it's only when you drama them on social media, and you expose them. That is the only time you get a response out of them. I saw a young man saying on social media that a secretary blocked him because he asking about he money that he worked for heritage. So it's only when you drama them they seem to want to take some kind of action, because the 5th came and went, but you said nothing. If you had a glitch, you ought to have known that beforehand that pay would be late. So how come it's only after the pay late? Almost 3 days later, you know that there's a glitch, and this is how they are taking Tobagonians. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about people. Because you know what? Their bread is butter. Remember they used to talk about bread and butter issues, and I'm telling you, these people no longer care about your bread or your butter, because their bread properly buttered and they're eating with
people
knife and fork
bread
now.
again.
They are eating with knife and fork while you don't have no bread to butter. And it is time, I am saying, and I will repeat it throughout this 2024. My encouragement to all Tobagonians is do not cower. Now is the time. You have to speak up. You have to speak out if you want this island to be the best little island in the planet. You have to take ownership of Tobago, because these people, I'm telling you, they are about buttering their bread and they do not care what happens to the island. And if we allow things to go the way it is currently going, I tell you, Tobagonians, it's going to go so far, it will be difficult for anybody else to pull it back. It will go so far, the rate they are going. And I mean, the topic is a hot one that we start off with. So we have now somebody tuning in. We have two people actually tuning into the conversation. I want to take the opportunity to welcome the political leader of the People's National Movement, Mr. Ansel Dennis, along with our good friend on the Minority Report here, Kwesi Devines. Gentlemen, how you all going? I don't know if it's the heat of the topic bring you all out and make you all here join forces one time for us to take this fight. Political leader, welcome.
Welcome, and let me say firstly, Happy New Year to all of you in studio.
Happy New Year,
of Tobago updates, all the listeners and viewers across Tobago and other parts of the world who might be tuning in to this very popular program. It's a pleasure to be here. Although we're having a very unfortunate conversation, but it's a pleasure to be here nonetheless, notwithstanding the fact that the conversation is not very pleasurable at all.
Mr. Devines.
Good evening. I would love to say Happy New Year. I would really love to. But again, I'm thankful to be here this evening. Good evening to all the viewers. And I think I shared in Maryland that I know that there are many viewers across the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. I recently went to a little parang session in Trinidad, and a guy just called me out, and I really did not know who the guy was. And he said, "Don't worry, you wouldn't know me. I just saw your Minority Report." So the show is being seen, but it really is a somber and very I guess, a somber new year. It's the first time I have to use it that way, a somber new year to each and every one. And I really hope that we can find a way to drag Tobago out of the quagmire that we have found ourselves in, because it's a difficult time for each and every person. And I'm sure that even for the 14 persons who lost their lives violently last year, I'm sure someone knows at least one person connected to them, and it's really is a difficult time for us in Tobago.
Yes, it is indeed. But gentlemen, I'm glad you all have chimed in on the discussion. At this point, we just saw a notice that was sent out by the division, again connecting with what the minority leader was saying in terms of the hardships that people are experiencing. We're still seeing folks not being paid. We're seeing here a notice about a glitch, which 4 days after the date that the salary was supposed to be received, the notice comes out, which again is disrespect to the workers because you didn't give them any time to manage their expectations. And we have a number of other things. But what I want us to go in the direction with is that the division that this is coming out from, that particular secretary seems to be trending on social media for the longest while, speaking absolute heresy about critical issues. And the minority leader raised his voice against what all of Trinidad and Tobago and all of the world looks down on and frowns on, which is a matter of crime. And this person, this secretary, and our deputy chief secretary jumps out and speaks about this is foolishness and so on, knowing fully well by that time that she didn't pay her workers. And she's on social media. So I want us to go, minority leader, in that direction, because there are a number of things that I know you want to highlight based on the statements that have been made by the deputy chief secretary. I'll pass the baton to you and you will carry it out through the rest of the race.
Well, the crux of the matter, one, is that we were able to demonstrate that the deputy chief secretary is a hypocrite, and a hypocrite in the biggest order. Because here it is, the deputy chief secretary was saying that I, as minority leader, have absolutely no business asking the current executive to treat with crime as a serious island-wide concern. And we were able to demonstrate that this very deputy chief secretary was part of a minority bench that was castigating the former chief secretary, Mr. Kelvin Charles, and his administration when the crime situation wasn't even as bad as this. But yet they were the ones pulling Mr. Charles and his administration over the course because they were playing politics at the time. They were the ones, even when the crime situation wasn't even as high, was trying to say that Mr. Charles don't have a plan, and in fact, he doesn't know how to treat with the situation. But in this situation now, they are telling Tobagonians, well, we dust we hand from this. We are not responsible for this. This is 6th schedule. But how could this be 6th schedule when we've just demonstrated in a real sense some of the factors that propagate crime? Because when you don't pay somebody, a man already have his bills up to his throat, have his family to feed, and they are enabling situations that might be negative, but a man is desperate. Doesn't that also create the environment for crime?
Yeah.
When you have a situation where you have divisions such as education, when you have divisions such as the very health and social services, when you go there and you apply for a food card, you can't even get some food support. Doesn't that also enable crime? When you have the division of sport and youth affairs, where you have a community without their playing field for the last 2 years because it overrun with bush and the young people cannot go out and recreate, does that not enable crime? So to show this issue about it being a policing matter, I am saying crime is as much policing and national security as it is social. It is a social problem and requires social intervention, and it is the THA's responsibility to provide the platform for that type of social intervention.
So Minority Leader and our guest online, before we shift over to you guys, as usual, we always like to share with the public the facts and the information. So I'll ask the director to pull up the statement made by the Deputy Chief Secretary just a few days ago, where she lashed out against the Minority Leader's concern. So she said, "This is the kind of foolishness that grinds my soul. The THA, though not responsible for national security, has been spending our limited resources on 6 scheduled items, meaning we have been renting cars for TTPS to move around, we have been fixing up the prison, we have been fixing the fire station. Stoops, look now, not today, please." I'll ask the director to pull up the 21st of December 2017. Another statement made again on Facebook by the now Deputy Chief Secretary. This was against the then Chief Secretary, Mr. Kelvin Charles. And she said, "What we've learned so far at the THA legislature sitting that's happening now, the Chief Secretary does not believe that crime in Tobago is the responsibility of the THA. Therefore, there is no specific anti-crime plan." These are her words. Gentlemen online, Mr. Political Leader, Mr. Devines, welcome to the conversation. I see the political leader smiling to get in.
Well, there are things that grinds my soul as well. And what grinds my soul most is the continued disingenuousness, the continued hypocrisy of this administration, because you show the facts, you show the evidence to suggest that when these people were outside of office and wanted the votes and the support of Tobagonians, they said certain things, they did certain things, they made certain promises, they gave certain assurances and guarantees. And here we are now, they have responsibility for this island. They got what they were asking for, what they were yearning for, what they were desiring, and so far they have failed to perform. And you read a statement earlier, a release from the Division of Health, where there is some glitch in a system preventing persons from getting salaries. And I agree that there is a glitch in the system, not only in the Division of Health, but there's a glitch in the system called Tobago. And that glitch infected Tobago since December the 6th, 2021. And here they are attempting to absolve themselves from any responsibility. And yes, I have to agree that when you read the law says that national security is not a 5th schedule item. They don't have to tell us that. That is something every single Tobagonian knew. In Tobago, we have police officers, we have Coast Guard officers, we have soldiers, and all of them are aware that the THA does not pay their salaries. So yes, we know that the responsibility for national security lies with the central government. But beyond national security, there is Tobago security. And the law does not specify who is responsible for Tobago security. The law doesn't have written in it Tobago security. But I can tell you that over the years, from 2001 to 2021, when the PNM was in charge, we took responsibility for Tobago security. Because under the 5th schedule, there are items there called youth and sport and community development and finance and the Tobago economy and those matters. And therefore, if you manage those areas responsibly, sure that as an administration you deliver to the people of Tobago effectively, efficiently, and with equality and equity, then in fact we have a very good chance of preserving a situation on this small island of 60,000 people, probably 65,000 by now, right? That will ensure that we are able to minimize this thing called crime and violence. And the records will show that in all the areas that I just described, look at the playing fields. If you go to the Bonaccord playing field now, you would be convinced that the Division of Agriculture took it over and that they are deliberately turning it into a pasture for sheep and goats to graze.
Exactly.
Right? When you examine the Tobago economy, they made a conscious decision to send $300 million. It is more by now of our development money to Trinidad. When you take that volume of money out of the Tobago economy, you don't have to be an economist to understand the impact of that, right? So we are in this situation now because there is a glitch in the system, and that glitch is Farley and his friends.
Thank you very much, political leader. Kwesi, you at this time that these statements were made would have been leader of assembly business. You would have been very much involved in what was happening right there in the mix. Chime in on this discussion. This is plain hypocrisy.
And you know, recently I was having a discussion with some close friends, and they were asking, but Chris, you don't get upset about very many things. What gets you upset? And number one on my list is always hypocrisy. What I can say, and Ms. Ansel hit the nail on the head. It's something that I really wanted to touch on, because youth, the PNM's policy to deliberately focus on youth and youth development, community and community development. For 20 years, for the 20 years while we were in office, was no mistake, was no coincidence, was very deliberate. And I can say that with a sense of assuredness. I know that Mr. Dennis served in the Division of Community Development as well. And for myself, coming up in civil society, in youth organizations, I saw the robust efforts, and I was part of, and I benefited from the robust efforts to engage young people in a fruitful manner, in a productive manner. There were many challenges for youth organizations. Youth organizations in Tobago were very robust. There were many across the length and breadth of Tobago. You could have counted and you knew that. For me, I came up through JCI, Rotaract, the police youth clubs were doing well. There were prison youth groups all across the length of Tobago. Now, we have a situation where we have 20 gangs across the length and breadth of Tobago. And it's no coincidence, again, that those 20 gangs have come to fill the void that has been left by a lot of the efforts that were put in for youth work and youth development for so many years. Because if you spent money deliberately, we injected funds deliberately to ensure that young people were given opportunities for development, young people were given opportunities to have impact in their community, young people were given mentors to work with from within the Department of Youth, and you have now almost cracked these things down to bare bones. It is no coincidence that we now have gangs taking the places of the youth organizations in Tobago, because they no longer have that that support that they once did. And it's a poor effort on the part of this current administration to try to blame national security, and all of a sudden it's the chair of the National Security Council, the Prime Minister, who you told, by the way, stay out of Tobago people business. Stay out of Tobago people business. Now you're saying, well, it's your fault, you're abandoning Tobago. No, you have abandoned your post. You have abandoned the people that elected you to serve. You have abandoned the hopes and dreams of those 14 people who were brutally murdered in the last year. You have abandoned each and every young person in Tobago who had any true hope of moving forward and making an impact in their community. And the fact is that we have to now make efforts again to drag Tobago, as I started off, out of the quagmire that we have found ourselves in. And I don't want to get into the what grinds my gears and all of that and grinds my soul, because the fact is, nothing can grind my soul more than someone who neglects their duty, their sworn duty, the oath of office that they took. So you could try to speak about national security from a crime detection, because we're talking about the police have a role to detect crime after, and of course deal with the criminal elements almost after the crime has been committed. But these efforts that we put in the past under the People's National Movement yielded many benefits, and again the absence of those programs are telling for today. And it's okay, and I think I'm sure the political leader will have no problem in me saying it's okay if they go and dust out the PNM playbook, and when it comes to engaging young people that we have done so well, dust it off and use the exact same ideas. It's okay. We don't have to say beat our chest and say what is PNM policy. I think the main thing at this point is how are we engaging young people in a meaningful way so that we could really suppress the gangs, because we have to take a community approach now. And that community approach requires engaging young people, engaging communities. And when I say engaging communities, I don't mean the papi show meetings that they were doing going around Tobago and making sure that Tobagonians had a meme representing us every other week. I'm talking about meaningfully engaging Tobagonians. The sporting grounds on Charlottesville, full of bush, Goodwood, full of bush, Bonaccord, full of bush. Well, Shaw Park, I see they finally cut the bush. Engage Tobagonians in meaningful activities. And I'm not talking about Hoop for Life. I'm not talking about that. For some reason, I am of the belief that we're going to see another Hoop for Life, because, of course, we know that they tend to want to pull out the UNC playbook. So I can almost put my money down that we're going to see a Hoop for Life come out in Tobago. I'm talking about find ways to utilize what the PNM has done very successfully for 20 years in engaging and developing young people. And I can tell you, Farley would be the biggest hypocrite if he would say that the PNM did not engage young people over the 20 years, because he was a beneficiary of a lot of development, a lot of the funds and investment in young people by the People's National Movement over the last 20 years.
Correct. Thank you very much, Kwesi. You made a very, very critical point there in connecting the lack of engagement now with what we're seeing.
One of the things I want to add is to remind people, and is just to demonstrate again how responsible the People's National Movement is to its commitment to both Trinidad and Tobago. When this crime upsurge started, as minority leader representing as the lone PNM representative, we didn't just start to bash this current administration. We accepted that crime in its truest sense, is a non-political issue because it affects each and every one of us. And one murder in Tobago is one murder too much. So I wrote and I requested of the Chief Secretary for us to meet, for us to sit down, and then for us to move forward, bringing together the brightest minds and all the resources that we can have, utilizing the various NGOs and so, all of Tobago approach, so that we can include and involve all of Tobago in this fight against crime. We met once. And, one of the things in that meeting, I thought the meeting wasn't given the respect that it deserved. We met in a little small room down at the cultural complex. We were ushered in. Like you're just giving me a little piece of your time. It wasn't, I expected that you would have put some deliberate attempt to. Definitely. However, we met and we discussed some strategies. We discussed there was a commitment to meet again. I waited and I waited and I waited, and there was no other meeting. And I think I'm seeing political leader speaking, but
you would have to wait. You would have to wait very long. I'm aware of other person who called on the Chief Secretary phone for months and couldn't get a meeting with him. So maybe you have found yourself in that situation.
And one of the things that we discussed, and it was publicly announced, is that they would set up this unit of Department of Safety, and he called it a fancy name. They always fancy talk. And that is why I was able to come back and say, let us stop the fancy talk and let us get down to action. Because 2 years later, I've not seen a department, I've not seen safety, I've not seen security. What I'm seeing is chaos and mayhem. You know, this administration is good at talking, but they are poor at implementing. And that is why even last year I was able to go through a suite of deliverables. And we were able to demonstrate that even though they would have identified the funding for those deliverables, they were only able to deliver less than 30% of those deliverables, because they talk a good talk, but they are poor at implementing. And while this is happening, Tobago and Tobagonians are suffering. Tobagonians are under the cost by criminals, and the entire economy of Tobago is crumbling.
Minority Leader, again, we always like to give the facts. So since the Tuesday, the 18th of October 2022, the Chief Secretary said that soon the THA will set up the Department of Public Safety and Security to deal with crime and criminality on the island.
So the question tonight, where is the Department of Public Safety and Security?
Right, Political Leader?
No, based on the date you mentioned there, that's more than a year ago.
2 years.
2 years, almost.
Interesting.
2022.
2022. 18th of October. That left you speechless.
And yet, and you would also remember, prior to that, the Chief Secretary, we saw the Chief Secretary, who is now saying that he's not responsible.
Yes.
He has no business with Tobago security. You would remember he would have had flanked a press conference where he was appearing as Commander-in-Chief, flanked by senior officers of the arms of state, the highest police officer in Tobago, the ACP. You had the senior defense force, senior fire, senior coast guard, and he was there intimating to Tobago that he had a plan.
Yep.
And he would solve this issue of crime. He had the answers. So when 2 years or a month and a half later, when you recognize that you're in problems, you didn't even call the Minister of National Security at that time. But now you're saying, is the central government responsible for crime? This is not my responsibility. And as Pierre, the political leader, said, we know on paper the 6th schedule, national security falls as a responsibility for the central government. But at the same time, and that is the policing side of it, but there's the social safety side of it, public safety, that you have where are the Y zones? And we spoke about all those things.
Yep.
The PNM would have implemented those Y zones to help to keep young people focused in the communities. And those were placed in hotspots. So you had one, as I recall, Bethel, Bell Garden, Collar Hall. You had those were strategically placed. We talked about community policing and how you get the police into the communities again, familiarizing with the community. We talked about the use of digital technology, the cameras.
So I mean, this is really a heart-rending issue. We have to pay some bills, but when we get back, we're gonna close off a bit on this issue of crime, because we also have a sort of seeming implosion taking place in Tobago right now, and again, everything is imploding. So we're gonna take a short break, folks, and when we get back, we change gears and head into some more interesting discussion. We'll be right back.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry if your nice can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Hey, as you come in. Long time I see you. This station pumping. Ready for children party. Mommy! Jay, you can't go nowhere with these children. And you know you can't depend on Kevin neither Stephen to see about them. Yeah, total waste. So I supposed to stay home whole time? Jada is 12. She could see about them. You just leave Jada to see about Kia and Kayla? I thought it's your mother or your sister. Who? Them always busy. Jada could handle that. She cooking and cleaning a long time. And the next two, better know what time it is. It's only me, you know. I will talk to my mother. She just home these days. She will make sure the children okay.
So folks, we are back and we want to go right back to the political leader and Kwesi. I want to give you all an opportunity to just close off this particular part of the discussion. Kwesi, you had some very critical points. Political leader, crime.
Well, this administration simply has to get their act together and start utilizing Tobago's resources to ensure that we create an environment that is not conducive to crime. Of course, each individual has to make their own decision. People have their choices. But a key responsibility of the government is to ensure that we present an environment that will guarantee the safety of the citizens and the people of Tobago. And you can do that by minimizing opportunities for crime on the island. So I have some advice for them. I will give them some free advice. You know, I could have said if I was the chief secretary, but I'm fortunate to be in a position to say when I was the chief secretary, right? And I would go further to say that when the PNM was in office, we utilized Tobago's resources on Tobago people, right? So we spent I would say 99% of Tobago's development budget on the island, utilizing contractors from the island. Of course, those contractors will utilize, in some cases, services from other suppliers, whether it be equipment. They will go to the hardware stores, they will purchase the materials. Guess from where? Right here in Tobago. If some of them opted to subcontract, guess where the subcontractors will come from? Right in Tobago. Right? We had a perfect example where during the pandemic and things were slow during the construction sector, we took a decision that I'm still proud of today, because of course anywhere where you find a slowing of the economy, or a recession for whatever reason, or the sluggishness within the economy, the government always attempts to be the spender of last resort. Right? During the 2008 financial crisis that gripped the entire world, it didn't only affect the US where it started, it affected the entire world. One of the things that the US government did at the time was to engage in a massive economic recovery package that involved a lot of spending, and a lot of that spending was done, guess where? Through infrastructural development, doing new roads, new bridges, etc. So we spent money during that time, and the contractors at the point in time will tell you that they were able to employ somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 young persons, right? The question has to be asked, where are those young men now? I remember going to one particular project and I saw no less than 100 to 200 young men who would normally find themselves being idle. They were engaged in masonry, in carpentry, in mixing cement, in doing whatever it took to ensure that the people of Tobago benefited from that development. We have a situation now where that money is now being placed into the pockets of contractors from outside of the island, right? They are bringing up their own equipment from Trinidad. They are bringing up employees from Trinidad. And when they get the money, guess where they will reinvest the profits? In Trinidad, because they are from Trinidad. So you have that massive leakage leaving the Tobago economy, bringing hardship to Tobagonians, right? And it's affecting everybody, because once that money is injected into the economy, people don't take their salary and go home and put it under the bed. Guess what they do? They go and they spend it. They go to the bar in the community and they buy some drinks. They go to the little shop in the community and they buy groceries. They buy eggs, they buy bread, they carry it home to their families. They feed their families. People go on vacation or staycations right here in Tobago when they have money to spend. But if that money is not circulating in Tobago, guess what? It damages the Tobago economy. It makes life hard and much more difficult for the people of Tobago. In addition to that, over the years, we ensured that we not only developed and built community facilities, but we also ensured that there were programs within the various community facilities. We ensured that the community facilities were well maintained. Look at the situation now with our playing fields. Look at the situation now with our community facilities. There are community facilities that were ongoing under the PNM. Guess what? The contractors were pulled from those projects. All the resources were pulled from those projects and redirected to other areas, to unnecessary roads down in Crown Point for $70 million, to another unnecessary road in Dutch Fort for $20 million, to another unnecessary road in Lam Road for $25 million. All of this to ensure that the key persons that they develop relationships with outside of Tobago could feed from the Tobago trough at the expense of Tobagonians. Look at what is happening with our heritage festivals, our carnivals. People are rendering services and not being paid. Look at what is happening in the agriculture sector. The average young farmer, I remember going to visit a number of farms. I'm finishing shortly. I went to visit a number of farms as chief secretary. I met a number of young people who were involved and very passionate and hopeful about agriculture. Approximately 200 or so of them were given lands, documents in their hand, letters of comfort, and we committed to them that, look, we will allocate the resources. I think it was about 50 to 60 million in total, and we will develop 3 areas in the first phase. In total, it was going to be about 8 areas across Tobago. We will develop the lands, we will put in the roads, we will put in the infrastructure, the lights, the water, so that you as a farmer can go there and ply your trade, develop yourself, become a millionaire hopefully, and feed Tobago, feed Trinidad and Tobago, and perhaps the region, right? And that is how we were positioning the island agriculture sector to take off and to go to the next level. So they came in, they chose to redirect the fund again elsewhere to other things that they deem priority, to things like the stage in the sea and other unnecessary projects. And guess what? The average young person who could have been actively pursuing agriculture now, who could have expanded his operation to even engage other young persons, where is he now?
Yeah.
Where is he now? Ripe for the picking, ripe for recruitment by some delinquent gang member from another place.
Yep.
And I'm saying if they are serious about Tobago and serious about minimizing opportunities for crime and violence on this island, then they will get their act together and simply spend Tobago's money in Tobago, on Tobago people, and to ensure that we can revitalize and rescue this Tobago economy. I've spoken long enough.
Kwesi.
And just to add to what the political leader was saying, and when you start talking about crime prevention, there are 3 main areas.
Kwesi, we're not hearing
we're
you.
talking about.
I don't know if your microphone muted.
Yes, it's. I
Right,
don't know
good.
if they haven't let me in.
Yeah.
Good now? Yeah, I just to add to what the political leader was saying very quickly. When we are talking about crime prevention, we're talking about 3 main areas. Of course, you're talking about situational crime prevention, where you put the onus on the individual almost. Environmental crime prevention, and social and community-based crime prevention. And I really want to focus on the last one, because that's where we've been talking about, and PNM really excelled, I would think, in the 20 years that we were in office. And again, there's so many examples that can be used for how PNM empowered young people to really have that kind of power over their own lives and be less vulnerable to the delinquent forces and the gang forces. Never before in the history of Tobago we heard of 20 active gangs in Tobago. That is a brand new thing, and we have to recognize again the void that was left. And what was the solution put forward? I mean, I heard about the great plan for the division of Tobago security and safety, whatever the case might be. Instead, what we have gotten is 10 on, 10 off. So we have young people, and I have a couple of young people have come to me and say, well, yeah, whether it's NOTC or whoever, get them in to 10 days, and it's 10 on, 10 off. And what is going to happen? You give these young people morning work to cut bush. Instead of, we had young people learning different skills in plumbing, masonry, and so on. We had them engage in proper programs so that they can move on, get certified. All of those things we were working on with partnering with the department, the Division of Education, Division of Works. All of us were partnering to make sure we empower young people in a meaningful way, get them certified in different skills. Even in URP, we were empowering the women. You've now stripped away all of those programs. And again, giving people 10 on, 10 off. So send the young people to cut bush for an hour or 2 hours in the morning, and that is your solution. And now apparently they're trying to rush through to get them regularized, so you could stand up on a platform and say, yes, I give you a job, or when it's time to campaign again, say, well, don't forget I give you a morning walk. And they've gone to this morning walk thing when we have done so much work to empower young people. When in fact, as Mr. Dennis pointed to, we have been focusing on building an economy for so long. And it's a sad state of affairs when the large contractors who engage truckers, plumbers, masons, they have sometimes caterers working for them. All of these people working. Once you see the private sector is empowered and engaged, but you have blacklisted the contractors in Tobago. You have cut out all of these social programs. You have cut out the youth programs, and instead all we have is 10 on, 10 off. And just to add to that bit on health, I remember when the former Secretary of Health, Dr. Agatha Carrington, was pilloried by this very same current Secretary of Health and called all kind of names, old snake, whatever name they probably didn't call her, they probably forgot. And look at what is happening now. We're talking about that glitch. I'm telling you, in my capacity as a secretary, if there was going to be late pay, I guarantee you the secretary was well aware of what is happening. But this is evidence that she has no plan, she has no clue. And if that is the case, get out and let somebody who can do the job, please.
Minority Leader.
And both Chrissy and the political leader and Sil really did an excellent job reminding persons of that long-term strategic development plan that the PNM had for Tobago, that vision. And you're seeing the difference now in the way this administration is managing the affairs of Tobago, which is very disjointed and haphazard. Case in point, that 10 on, 10 off. This 10 on, 10 off is not tied to any real long-term objective. It is a make-work program just to get votes. It's no different from the discussions we heard on that audio recording about creating an environment, creating this machinery to ensure that it maintains their political survival. So they are not about developing Tobago and Tobagonians. What they are simply about is seeing how can we maintain our political survival. And you saw it even in as unfortunate as it is. They would ride any horse. They would beat anything to keep them in power. It's all about power. It's all about maintaining the reins of power so that they can continue to eat fat off of the land. When you look at the PNM, we would have built a cadre of Tobago-based contractors that developed capacity to carry out most of the major works in Tobago. And we didn't just stop there. Commensurate to that, we continue to empower young people who came looking for work by providing them with training and skill development opportunities. And we tie that to them creating companies, and we tie that to BDU, where they can access the different equipments to expand their companies. And then we created a program just before we were put out of office, that community infrastructural development program. So there you're seeing the nexus, where you are tying economic development to community development, to youth development and training. It was a complete synergy, and that is how you treat with crime. So it's not about talking. When I was flabbergasted when I saw our Secretary of Education, the best thing she could have taken out as a Secretary of Education is that she needs to create some curriculum to teach people about the 6th schedule and the 5th schedule.
Yes.
When you should be talking about how do I create programs to retrain and to train young people, empower them with skills development. How could I look at the tech sector, that side of the education, to see how do I create some youth centers? How do I perhaps revitalize youth camps and all those kind of things and build that into the education system? No, she's only, as I said, talking about their political survival. So they believe if they beat this thing about autonomy and 6th schedule and 5th schedule and create a war between the central government and the THA, that will keep them in power. And that is all they are about. They are not about Tobago. They are not about Tobago development.
I see the political leader itching. So I know he has something to say. Go ahead.
No, I simply want to say that it is not proper for us to have a conversation on crime without reminding the people of Tobago about AudioGate. Right? And the fact that we possibly have criminals in office.
Yeah.
And I'm happy the minority leader made the point about them being more interested in political survival and in ensuring that they continue to be in these cushy positions so that they could feed their friends from Trinidad while in turn benefiting from that, right? And maybe, just maybe, we are in a position where we are asking the people who were quite prepared to engage in criminal conduct to preserve their political strength on the island to deal with our challenges with crime. I am not sure that that is a sensible thing for us to do as a people.
A very, very serious point, and political leader, piggybacking on that and what minority leader said. The fact is that we have criminals running the THA. And that is the reality. And I mean, so what else can we expect happening? And as you were pointing out, minority leader, it seems as if no secretary actually doing their job. They're concerned about everything else that is happening and then just simply trying to rile Tobago up to fight with Trinidad.
And not to be petty, but I cannot recall a former PNM secretary or representative having so much time on their hands to be under each and every social media post. And some of it is so idle.
Yeah.
The conversations. It is so deplorable, unbecoming. And I'm talking about persons who are deputy chief secretaries, and you're seeing the kind of conversations that such persons are carrying in the public space.
Yeah.
It is appalling. I am shocked. I'm disappointed.
This is the worst. It is literal governance by Facebook.
Call a phone at 6 a.m.
Go ahead, PL.
You're hearing me?
Now we're hearing.
Now I was making the point that while they have the time to be on Facebook talking foolishness, you can't message or call a phone at 6 a.m.
You know, the things that we are talking about, they're humorous to make you laugh, but they also make you cry.
Yeah, because while they are having a good time at it, people are genuinely hurting.
And in pain.
We have our cultural ambassadors, the people that they talk. When you listen to the chief secretary, sometimes he come talking about this orange economy. Well, how could you develop an orange economy if you have your people? One, you're not that told you all that they were putting Tobagonians first and putting what people before politics and all that. But really and truly, when you check the performance of this administration, is really putting Tobagonians last. When you look at the contractors, our Tobago contractors, when you look at what they have gotten under this administration compared to what they would have got prior, it is chalk and cheese. And when you compare it to what contractors from outside is getting now, Tobagonians are last and the outsiders are first. When you look at our workers, contract workers right now, they are living on the edge because every time their contracts are coming close to an end, they are sweating.
Yeah.
Hoping, trying to clean up their Facebook to make sure I didn't say anything untoward because I know they watch it. And that's why they spend so much time on Facebook, because they're parading, monitoring everybody to see what you're liking, who you're disliking, who you're not liking. And so this place has become a complete chaotic kind of environment, one where it is about victimization, one about wickedness, political spite and bad mind. And the list goes on. And this is what this is the kind of environment in which is brewing people to want do nefarious things outside because the options are limited. It is this environment that have the confidence, private sector confidence at an all-time low. Nobody's investing.
Yeah.
Because nobody is certain at this point. There's no stability within the Tobago environment.
Folks, these discussions are necessary. We just have a few minutes remaining. I want to make the rounds and give everybody the opportunity to begin offering your closing remarks. I'm going to start with Kwesi. You've been quiet for the longest thus far. And then we're going to move to the political leader and then Kelvin back to you. And we're going to close the show on time tonight. We want to be disciplined this year and so that we remain friends with the director. Yeah, so Kwesi.
Well, today I got a nugget from a gentleman who shared with me. He said, ensure that whenever you speak, whatever you say, whatever comes from your mouth has more value than the value of silence. And I think hearing the political leader, Mr. Morris, yourself speak, there's a lot of value to what you had to say. So my silence was golden at that point in time. But I just want to say that it's not about what party you support at this point in time, as far as I'm concerned. It's about real issues and real governance of Tobago because we deal with real people. And we need to get real serious now. The time for all the traveling up and down, the fetting, the partying, the dressing up nice, all of those things, all well and good. 2 years has gone in no time while all of that was happening. 24 people were murdered over that period as well, and countless other crimes. We haven't even been able to touch on what's happening in tourism. Well, we haven't touched one past the tip of the iceberg in health because there's a lot more bacchanal brewing in health. Agriculture, finance, sport, you name it. Someone called me yesterday to say an older gentleman, good friend of mine, he said, Chris, I went to the EBC to try to find the registration for the TPP. And he assured me that there was no TPP registered. But what he did find was the TBP. I said, what does TBP stand for, sir? He said, it's Tobago Bacchanal Party. And I said, just leave me alone. All right, but the reality is, it seems that there's more Bacchanal brewing in Tobago than development and protection and safety. And the reality is, we need to get to the place where we're all able to say, you know what, hey, let's get serious now. And I just that's what I want to call on this administration to do. Let's get serious. Dig deep within yourself, get over yourselves, get over your personal ambitions. And please, I beseech you, for 2024, make the resolution. See about the business of the people of Tobago in a real, serious manner. Take your oath of office seriously, free and fair, and again, free from fear. I will end with that.
Thank you, Kwesi. Political leader.
Well, I simply want to say to the people of Tobago at this time to hold the people you elected to office to account. I, to some extent, understand the silence. I understand the fear of Tobagonians generally to talk and to speak up. And recently I asked myself the question, how come people had so much mouth when it was the PNM?
Come, Nana.
So in the interim, I would just give my closings, and I want to take up from where the political leaders stuck. And it is to really remind Tobagonians, to hold this administration to account without fear or favor. Tobago belongs to each and every one of us. And therefore, the future of Tobago, the future of our children, rests on what happens in the now. And if we allow things to continue to go in the direction where it is going, I want to speak specifically, there's so much to touch on, but when we look at tourism, which is near and dear to my heart, especially that institution called the Tobago Tourism Agency, it is like a baby to me because I was there from its infancy. And I know the kind of work that went into developing the culture of that organization. I know the kind of people that organization had at its leadership. And to see where the Tobago Tourism Agency is going now, it pains me. To hear the cries of the workers that still remains, it pains me. And I'm saying to Tobagonian, if you are feeling the pain like I am, the time to speak and speak up is now, because too late shall be the cry. And for those workers, you who continue to be consistently receive your salaries late, and they are telling you that there is a glitch, I want to remind you that there will come a time you would have a choice to make. And I am encouraging you that when that time comes and you make your decision, ensure that there's also a glitch. And when they ask you how come the results ended up in that way, let them know while you were going to choose them as the option, you had a glitch and you end up on the PNM. It's time we hold these people and make them understand that we are not fools, and make them understand as well that we matter as Tobagonians. Because in my book, it seems that we only matter when it comes time for a vote. But when it comes to take care of the issues that are important to Tobagonians and the development of the island, they do not seem to care. They do not seem to care that you are being paid late. They do not seem to care that you provided a service, you gave of your talent, you gave of your time, you gave of your sacrifice, and then all you are asking for is your just due. And for months on, they don't care. They don't care that you are owed over 2 years as a contractor. And an audit is going on for over 2 years. It's the longest audit in the history.
Any government.
Any government. That is just to show you how they're so incompetent. They can't even complete an audit. And 4 years would come and there would be no conclusion to that audit. And in the meantime, you have Tobago contractors that owe suppliers, that owe workers, that owe the banks, that owe hardware unpaid. And how do you expect to grow the economy in that situation?
Yeah.
So, Tobago and Tobagonians, we need to use this year as a year that our voices are raised in unison and hold this administration to account.
Folks, before we leave this evening, I want to take the opportunity as well to invite you to tune in on Thursday at 2 p.m. for the press conference that is going to be hosted by the People's National Movement. We're going to see at 3 p.m., we're going to hear from the political leader, we're going to hear from the minority leader, we're going to hear as well from the public relations officer. Do not miss that press conference. There are going to be several things revealed, and we're going to continue in this discussion next Tuesday on the Minority Report. I want to take the opportunity to thank the political leader, Mr. Ansel Dennis, to thank also Kwesi Devines for logging in with us this evening and bringing what I always call great value to the conversation and the program. And obviously, Minority Leader leading the charge here in studio. Folks, we want to thank you for staying with us. And I want to encourage you to keep logging on. 2024 will be a very interesting year. So this is Marilyn David. I'm saying have a wonderful evening and continue to stay focused and stay safe.